Hello, coaches. This is Fernando from Ignite Global. So wonderful to celebrate ICF Coaching, International Coaching Week with all of you. I see a few familiar faces and also some new faces. Wonderful to share this space with you, and I intend to create an experience, a hands-on experience today. So I hope you are able to turn on your microphones and cameras and truly interact. We have a good 90 minutes, and I believe we would be able to reflect and work together and gain some tangible, hopefully, understanding about how to operate within organizations. So I would like to welcome all of you to this session where I intend to discuss different human associations within organizations, and then to understand how do we approach them as uh, team coaches as well as organization development consultants. If you are not working as an organizational development consultant or a team coach, still, if you operate within the capacity as a leadership coach, executive coach, I believe this session will still be extremely valuable. All right, so I only see myself in the screen, and something that I know about coaches is that they like to show up in full presence. Something that I know about professional coaches is that they like to co-create, collaborate. So if you are in a place where you can open your camera and join me, I highly recommend you to do that so that we can get to know each other. We also can create some alliances and truly create an interactive experience. All right, coaches. So I would also invite you to recognize or let us know if you are able to participate. So I'm planning to create a few breakout rooms. We are talking about groups and teams collaborating together. So I believe that if we can create that same environment here where we collaborate and co-create together, that would enable us a much richer learning experience. All right, so if you can join us with full presence, that would be wonderful. And those who are unable to co-create right now, completely understand, and I'm very thankful and grateful that you still showed up. That means you resonated with something of this topic, and you decided to spend your time with us. So thank you once again for joining. I'm Fernando Hetiagara from Ignite Global. And I know that by now you have read my bio, so I'm not going to go into an introduction. More than a formal session, I would truly like to create a little bit of true interactivity and create a hands-on experience today, coaches. All right, so with that, may I invite us to introduce ourselves a little bit. Very briefly, your name, how you would like us to call you, and where you are based in, and also what kind of coaching you deliver. In case if you are not delivering coaching currently, if you are working in the capacity as a leader or in any other profession, we also would love to get to know you a little bit. So um, for making it faster, I'm gonna call your name. If you are in a position that you can speak, come forward and speak. If not, feel free to share your introduction in the chat room. So I see Sudeep joining us. Sudeep, over to you. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Sorry, I didn't hear very clearly who you called out.
Sudeep, you yourself.
Okay, thank you. Hi. So myself, Sudeep Verma, I'm dialing in from Delhi today. I straddle between Mumbai and Delhi in India. Uh, Monetization for me is in executive coaching space, though I do all kinds of coaching. And yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sudeep. Then next, I see Ahmed. Ahmed, good to see you. I saw you were joining last night as well. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself, Ahmed?
Yeah, it has been a long time, Fernando. And it's always a pleasure to be with you in your sessions. So my name is Ahmed Rashad. I'm based in Dubai, and currently I'm in belovely Cairo with a great weather. So I'm in the IT field since more than 30 years, and I started 3 years back with Fernando. I did not take coaching as profession, but all the sessions and the trainings that I went through gave me the chance to utilize the coaching experience through my leadership jobs and roles, and I'm always interested to learn more.
Brilliant, Ahmed. Great to see you after a while, and thank you for joining us. Next, I see Blake.
Hi, everyone. I'm Blake Carlton. I'm based in Columbia, South Carolina, in the United States. I'm currently pursuing my ACC credential. I have the hours, I just have to take the exam. And I plan to do individual coaching. I started my own coaching business and I'm just building it. And I'll be focusing on career coaching and relationship coaching as my niches for the time being.
Thank you for joining us, Blake, and wish you all the very best with the ICF credentialing exam and acquiring credential very soon. Thank you. Next, I see Elsa.
Hi everyone. My name is Elsa Kordahia. I'm joining from Lebanon. I'm the founder of Catalytic Intelligence, which is a blend of coaching and training using neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence, positive intelligence, and ICF framework and coaching. I'm glad to be here and to go with the new insights.
Brilliant, Elsa. Thank you for joining us. Next, I see Jenny.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny. I'm calling from Greece and I've been a professional development coach for the past 8 years. I'm a PCC coach. I'm a freelancer coach, but also HR consultant.
Brilliant, Jenny. Thank you for joining us, and such what beautiful experience to connect from coaches from around the world. I feel very honored, esteemed professionals like all of you are joining me today. Thank you. And next I see Nita. Over to you.
I was just typing in my response and I will, I think, read that out. I'm Neeta Shirali from Pune in India. Haven't discovered my niches yet. I'm still evolving. So I'd like to keep that open to just being an executive coach at the moment. I'm ICF certified and EMCC senior practitioner. Looking forward, of course, to this webinar. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining. I think as we evolve our journey coaching, sometimes our clients can help us to find our niche, or we find our own niche. So very exciting to see how your journey evolves, Nita, and thank you for being here today. Hi, Sunil. Wonderful to see you after some weeks, I would say. How are you, Sunil? And please feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, Fernando. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Myself, Sunil from Bangalore. I'm executive and CXO coach. I work with CXO and N-1. I'm ICF PCC and EMCC senior practitioner. I'm in this coaching for now almost 5 years. Before that, part of corporate at CXO and various transformation roles. I'm happy to be part of this cohort to explore today. Thank you.
Brilliant, sir. Thank you for joining. Then I see Veronica.
Hi, everyone. Let's see here. I'm Veronica Bell. I am from Maryland, the USA. And I'm in the process of waiting to take the ACC level exam. And while I'm waiting, I coach internally in my federal government agency, as well as at-risk youth in my community, in groups and things of that nature. And so I'm happy to be here and looking forward to hearing what I can learn even more so.
Brilliant, Veronica. Thank you for joining us, and what wonderful work you do. And in fact, I myself specialize on trauma-informed coaching. So I work with a lot of adverse childhood experiences. I myself have been through all adverse childhood experiences, if I may say, in certain range. So I take my hats off to you for the great work you do. Wonderful, like all the coaches here with such intention for being here today. Thank you. And next, I see Elena.
I typed my response. I can't talk at the moment. I'm sorry.
No problem. All right. We will. So, coaches, in case if you are unable to speak, feel free to send it in. I also noticed that you are sending your LinkedIn and to connect with each other. Wonderful. Please continue to do that. This is also an opportunity to build alliances. And if you're operating in organizational context as a consultant, a team coach, you know that often larger team coaching engagements, consultations, we are unable to run by ourselves just by alone. So when we have different expertise coming from around the world, building global alliances can be extremely valuable to be able to create the impact within organizations. So I'm so glad that you're connecting with each other. And that's exactly what we mean to be doing here by bringing all of you together. Thank you. Next, I see Raut. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Sorry about that.
Yes, no worries. It's Rara. I also shared on the chat as I won't be able to talk, but I am new to coaching and I'm curious about team and group coaching. So this is why I'm here. And I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Next, I see Oji. Once again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
You did, thank you. And sorry I can't be on camera. Hello, everyone. I'm calling from Houston, Texas. I completed my coach training about 6 years ago, but just completed my team coaching certification. So working towards my hopefully PCC and team coaching certification. And I just started an exciting journey to stop working in an organization and very scary and trying to start my own coaching business. So within the last couple of weeks, so that's where I'm at.
Oh, brilliant, Ajay. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you all the very best in taking these steps and exploring the possibilities. And I myself, I have my own business. I deliver my own coaching. I work with organizations, and it has been a step-by-step process. And I believe if I could do it in Thailand, Bangkok, you can do it where you are. So wishing you all the very best and success. Thank you for being here.
Fernando.
All right, next I see Ben. Ben, if you're speaking. All right, Ben, if you're speaking, we are not hearing you right now. If some technical difficulty, feel free to come back and share your introduction once you can get your microphone to work. Next, I see Vineet.
Hey, Fernando, can you hear me?
Very well, Vineet, yes.
Hi, welcome back. It's good to see you back again, Fernando. Hi, everybody. My name is Vineet, and I'm based out of Toronto. I'm a psychologist and work with government here, so I'm an executive coach and take care of the leadership development with the government here. And I did my coaching certification like 9 years back, but 2024, I'm focusing back on my passion, which is coaching. And I got in touch with this amazing person whose name is Fernando, and I'm so blessed to attend this session again today. So thank you so much, Fernando, for doing this.
Thank you, Vineet. I'm so blessed to have you and all of you here. Thank you. And next I see Tatiana.
Hi, everybody. So great to be here. Thank you so much, Fernando, for organizing this that is turning out to be a really amazing event. I'm relatively new to coaching. I'm finishing my my education, coaching education, and I'm aiming to get my PCC, ACC first, and then PCC certification as soon as I can. And yeah, I'm really excited about team coaching, about executive coaching, and I'm really curious, what you would like to share with us. I'm very excited about this. Thank you.
Brilliant, Tatiana. Thank you for being here. I'm also recognizing that this is going to be an interesting session as everyone is introducing, and wish you all the very best through your credential journey as well. And I am seeing JP. JP is actually really from my team. JP, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys. Good evening. I'm Jayaprada. I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm currently a digital marketing executive of my company, Ignite Global. And this is my speech.
All right. Thank you, JP. Thanks for being here. Hi, Kamran. Over to you. You need to unmute yourself. Kamran, I'm almost
Fernando.
every night. I can get used to
it. Yeah, I just finished my workout, so I need to take deep breathing. And I'm so excited, passionate. I'm Cameron, working in Abu Dhabi in the oil and gas sector. So basically, I'm a leadership development specialist working with middle management. So where I am also facilitating the workshops. So I realized that now I need to step up my game and get into more of, I started personal development coaching, professional development coaching, maybe perhaps a year ago, but it wasn't really formal until I met Fernando. I feel like I'm part of Ignite Global family and working on my ACC certification. Really interested also to know about executive leadership coaching, had session trauma. I feel like I'm getting also more interested about therapy, REBT, CBT. So yeah, it's a big world. So I just need to, really take some baby steps and just open to the coaching world. Glad to be here. Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you, Kamran, and wish you all the very best through your credential journey as well. And that's the beauty of professional coaching. So I believe I invited all of you coaches. In case if I missed any of your names, please raise your hands and come forward. Today, I am based in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm also from Sri Lanka, like JP, and I live in Thailand. I'm based here, and my organization, Ignite Global, is legally established in Thailand as well. And today is our in-person event, ICW event, ICF Bangkok chapter. And one of the words I heard is lifelong learning. Most of the coaches who were co-creating, collaborating, and celebrating ICW were talking about lifelong learning. And I'm hearing that from you, and I also believe that is why you are here as well. So if you have attended our sessions, you know that usually I love sharing lots of value, enabling you to go away with some fireworks, and I hope that I will be able to do that today with all of you. However, this conversation today is going to be quite like when you look at it from a team coaching lens, organizational development lens, from my perspective, at least, I would say it's a bit of a basic level conversation. The reason why I wanted to discuss something at an introductory level when it comes to team coaching is because to give everyone an opportunity to kind of open the curtains and see what is happening in organizations in terms of consultations, in organizational development, as well as team coaching. So if you would like to understand a little bit of my background specifically from the team coaching, I deliver 3 main types of organizational development interventions. The very first thing I help organizations with is conflict resolution. And conflict resolution, so I do work as a team coach. Also, of course, most of the time, if you are in the team coaching world, you will recognize that team coaching is not necessarily offered as just one service. just like how we deliver leadership coaching or executive coaching, there are so many other elements, certain other resources, interventions that we use in that space. Just like that, even much higher range of different services we offer within team coaching. In fact, often how professional team coaches approach team coaching is providing a solution to the organization, where team coaching is actually only a part of that larger intervention that we are providing to the organization. And as the industry is expanding, the organizations are understanding the value of team coaching. I believe in the future there will be opportunities where we can only deliver team coaching as well. All right. So as I mentioned, I deliver a lot of conflict resolution in organizations. It's a very unique niche in team coaching, and it does really beautiful transformation within leaders in organizations. As some of you already heard, some of our members mentioning that I also work with trauma-informed approach to coaching. So obviously, when often individuals are conflicting within organizations, they are not necessarily they take things personally, but if you are able to help them debrief and understand that actually their true intention is to be of service, be of value to the organization, and conflicting is an important element in any organization. However, learning how to conflict harmoniously is what is important. If a team coach goes in or an organizational development consultant goes in an organization and says that let's eliminate all the conflicts, I think that means we are creating an unhealthy environment. It's important that there are conflicts in organizations. What is important is not getting involved emotionally and personally in the conflicts, rather to look at conflicts as opportunities and create harmonious culture where we can conflict with each other. That is an insight I would like to share with you as a consultant who work in conflict resolution. And then secondly, of course, I also work with organizations in helping them to reduce the staff turnover. That also truly means saving money. What that means is when we look at large organizations, so we work with Fortune 500 companies, sometimes there are 10,000 employees in these organizations. So you can imagine when hundreds of employees keep leaving on an annual basis, they tend to lose millions of dollars. Let's take, for an example, $1 million, right? Staff turnover cost is $1 million every year in large organizations, or most of the time even more. So when you work with organizations like this, one of the ways how I pitch business is by asking them, what is your staff turnover rate? And what are the problems revolving around? So they would say things like when senior leave, the processes of the organization, revenue generation, forward movement are affected. And then staff turnover also means recruitment, training, and some time to prepare these new employees to get used to the flow, which means that incur a lot of costs. So then I tell them, if I could help you reduce your staff turnover cost by 50%, that would mean half a million dollars, right? I would tell, but I would be charging, let's say, half of it, 250,000 USD. What do you think about that? Organizations understand that because it's very clear, straightforward, so that they see a clear value proposition. So this is one of the ways that I operate with organizations. First, help them identify the high staff turnover costs, and then I provide them a solution where I help them reduce it. And then my fee is kind of partial savings that they have made. So they clearly see the value that I could create in the organization. But of course, I use a larger component in delivering these kind of programs as I use team coaching. And of course, I don't do this by myself alone. I have a great number of coaches around me who help me, who support me, not just only coaches, also professionals in other fields as well. If you are a team coach, you already know that team coaches use a directive approach in comparison to one-on-one coaching. One-on-one coaching, it's always the client who leads. In team coaching, we as professional coaches also can intervene a certain directive approach as well. All right, and the third one, of course, you probably guessed, which is building coaching culture in organizations. Building coaching culture in organizations could take up to about 3 good years, and this includes every individual, including the cleaning staff in the organization, having the opportunity to do a coaching call, inviting all employees of the organization, including the high-level leaders, into understanding what coaching is, and also can be significantly emotionally rewarding, as well as quite lucrative intervention as well. At the same time, involves a lot of complexities, because when we talk about changing organizations, we are talking about changing behavior. In order for us to change behavior, we need to change people's minds. In order for us to change people's minds, we need to invite them to recognize their attitudes. To change the attitudes, we need to tap into their beliefs, values, and so many deep level of who people are. It's an extremely interesting, rewarding experience. So this is to give you a little bit of an understanding of how I came to become a team coach and what I do with team coaching. All right, coaches, and it's not really about me, it's about all of us creating some space of learning and development today. So let's dive in. As I begin, I would like to invite you to ponder upon a question, which is now talking about complexities in human associations in organizations. Actually, this is a topic that I can potentially, we potentially could do a PhD on this specific topic, because humans are extremely complex beings, and when they come together, they become extremely complex. Our behavior is almost unpredictable in many interesting ways when we are within different human associations. All right. So once again, those who are joining us now, we did a little introduction round around the group, and since some of you just joined, I invite you to send your introduction in the chat room so that everyone can get to know you. Also, feel free to share your social links like LinkedIn, so that we all can get connected with you. All right. So coaches, while I'm sharing this my screen, I do not see any of you. So if you would like to ask questions or share your insights, how about initially you send them out in the chat room, and then later on, I will invite some of you to share some of your thoughts, as well as let's address some questions as well. All right, so let's begin with the question. Now the question is, why only team coaching is not sufficient in organizational context? Actually, I'm asking this question in relation to group coaching. In the introduction video I sent to you, if you watched it, I mentioned once I was in a large organization, just commencing a team coaching engagement. So before we did that, I started the senior leadership team to recognize that the human associations are quite complex. So I started talking about groups. So one of the leaders raised his hand and said, my understanding is groups exist outside of organizations. People come together to do something together. Why are we talking about groups here? Should we not be focusing on teams because we are an organization? Now, let's say if this happened to you, what would be your answer? What would be your insights? All right, anyone would like to unmute yourself and share any insights? All right. So as we continue this journey, you will be able to get an understanding. All right, so let's dive into understanding types of groups in organizations. Right, so if I openly ask you, okay, there you are, we have some answers, I believe. An organization is not only a collection of teams, it goes beyond, right? Oh, there you are. This is a very good, interesting insight. Executive team does not understand that they are not a real team. Spot on, beautiful. Well done. You have a very good understanding of that even the executive team is not a team. We call them like XCOM, or we call them executive suite, something like that, right? They are not really a team. The board members, they are not a team, right? Really interesting. All right, so in order for us to understand the complexities of teams and groups, let's first understand the broader definition of groups and teams. So if I may invited you to reflect a little bit what is a group and a team, then you would have the understanding that a group is a set of individuals come together. They have a common expectation, interest, goal, or journey. Let's say a specific savings group or public speaking group, spiritual development group. They come together, work together. They have individual purposes, interests, expectations. However, they build accountability, learning, sharing together. And then if you look at a team, so opposed to a group, a team has a shared goal. And then they will work in independent context because each team member has a specific role, specific expertise. However, they work in the shared context in order for them to accomplish a common goal. So if you're talking about a savings group, some sort of financial intelligence group, they will be creating learning accountability together. But when it comes to saving money, they will be saving each individual separately. Their goals are different. Saving capacity is different. But however, if you're talking about a team, like for an example, if you want to send let's say a rocket to the space, then we understand that their common goal or the shared goal is getting this rocket off the ground. So everyone has to work together. All the different teams or the people in the team need to work together to get the rocket to the moon or the space, right? So we understand this and it's quite straightforward. Now I'm inviting us to recognize one another complex type of group that exists within organizations. Now, when you look at these specific teams that you see on the screen, like HR team, IT team, production team, finance team, we understand that these are really teams because they have a shared goal, they have a specific function, and they are performing a specific task independently, individually with their expertise, but when it comes to achieving a goal, it's a shared goal. So we understand that. Now let's say this organization is about to go through a certain transition, specific transition. So let's say when there's a transition happening in an organization, we bring in a change management consultant often, because change management happens once in a while in an organization. It's not like a day-to-day activity that's happening in organizations. So when we do that, we need an expert to do that. So we bring in a change management consultant. Once the change management consultant is in, what is the first step the change management consultant does? Of course, recognizing the changes and having focus group discussions and all of that. While that's happening, one key aspect of a change management consultant is to form the change management team, they would call it, change management team. But as one of you mentioned, we know that it's not really a team. So what do they do? So they bring...
Moi aussi, il peut dire que c'est faux. Il dit que c'est faux, que c'est toi. Voilà la preuve. Les envoyer tel mail.
1 second, coaches. All right, it's my own voice because I'm recycling some of the slides. All right. Okay, so let me just do this instead. Okay. All right. So when we look at a change management group or a team, what they do is, if you notice that each color represents each team, like orange, yellow, green, and so on, right? So the change management leader or the specific consultant will bring one person from each team, one from HR, one from finance, production team, IT team, and so on. And then they form a team or a group together. Now, this group will do things together, as in they will decide, they will discuss, and then once they have certain outcomes, objectives, they will go back to either HR team, IT team, and then kind of update them what is happening, delegate within their teams those specific outcomes that they intend to do. So you are immediately recognizing now, if we compare this with the team definition, they don't necessarily have a shared goal just within a container. Well, as a whole organization, there's a shared goal, which is the transitioning process, transformation process. But when they go away from each other, they have to work in separate teams when they work together. So the change management team, although we call it a team, is actually not a team. So we are starting to recognize that they are far away from the actual definition of a team. Right. Right. So if you look at both of them, if we compare both of them, they are neither individually doing something nor achieving a goal just within as a contained team achieving a specific shared goal either. Right. So they're different. And now may I invite you to take a step back and reflect on organizations that you have been potentially as a leader, as an employee, or in any capacity. If you co-created, worked with several individuals in an organization, and if you called it a team or not, what was that association like? Let's go back and think about the last team that you have been, so quote and unquote, the team that you have been in. Was it a real team? Or was it different? Does it meet this definition, industry definition of a team? Some of you might say yes, some of you might say no, right? Maybe interesting. So now if you look at this specific association, a change management team is a group of people who come together with a common purpose to a direct shared goal, who act as a team only when they meet in a shared context for a specific period of time. Now you immediately recall ExCom, Executive Committee, or Executive Suite, right? C-suite. Right? Do you recognize that? Because as a C-level executive, CEO, COO, CFO, CAO, whatever it is, once they come together, they look at the organizational strategy, right? And then, of course, they don't necessarily execute this strategy by themselves as a group. What they truly do is they plan, they create the roadmap, they identify what are their outcomes and responsibilities, and what do? They go back and then they delegate those tasks to their heads of the department, and the heads of the department to their larger departments or the teams. Right? So we are immediately recognizing then, even if you call it executive team, they are really not a team, but they are more in this definition, which is a group of people, executives come together with a common purpose, organizational strategy, and they have a shared goal while they are meeting. However, they are only part of that team, part of that association for a short period of time. The moment they step out of the boardroom, they are part of a different team, which is their departments. So what do we call this in industry? perspective. We mostly call them working groups. Well, you may have different terms. That's not a problem. As far as we are able to identify this kind of associations and having an anchor, like a name to call it, it helps us. Working groups. So a working group is a set of individuals who have a shared goal only when they meet in the shared context, and they have to delegate it, or they have a different function when they step out of that specific meeting or that specific short period of time they co-create. Right, so here are a few examples of such groups. The change management team, which we just discussed, board of directors, C-suite, and then so many other specific associations within organizations are actually working groups. In fact, in my experience, do you know that most of the people or associations within organizations who call themselves teams are actually not even close to being a real team. They are mostly pseudo teams. So here we are introducing a new term here, pseudo teams. In other words, when we are unable to, as team coaches, team development specialists, when we are unable to actually define a specific group of people collaborating, we call them pseudo teams. They are not really real teams, but they work in shared context. So now we have a little bit of an understanding, very, very basic. Like I said, this is the 90-minute session, so it's a very limited amount of information that I can share with you today, right? So at least to give you an understanding how we look at different types of associations. So we have external groups like financial saving groups, spiritual groups, public speaking groups coming together, or leadership. Different organizations, people come from different organizations, work together in leadership development, right? So external groups, and then working groups, people working in shared context within organizations, and then teams who achieve a specific shared goal, and each one's contributions are crucial in order for us to achieve that shared goal, which we call a team. Once again, if you look back at your organizations that you have worked, that you have been an employee, where were you in these areas? Of course, I think at this point of time, it's important that we understand a little bit of nitty-gritty details of an external group versus working group. And then also, let's say when I say nitty-gritty, I mean attributes. So if I may invite ourselves to go to a little breakout room. I'm going to invite ourselves into 4 breakout rooms. And I understand that some of you may not be able to participate because of your circumstances right now. So feel free to remain as an observer. In case in your group, actually no one is able to co-create, I would invite you to reflect by yourself. And of course, if you can have a little discussion among yourself, that would be amazing. And we know the power of co-creation. All right, so what is this activity that we are going to do in the breakout room? You would be discussing what are some of the attributes, similar and different attributes between external groups and working groups. External groups versus working groups, attributes. And then another group, another little group, a breakout room will discuss similarities and differences or attributes between working groups and teams. Working groups and teams. Attributes. What are their expectations? How do they behave? What are some of their embodiments? These are what I mean by attributes. All right. Are the instructions clear, coaches?
Yes, they are.
Brilliant. Thank you, Vinit. All right. So in that case, let me call out the names of the random groups I have just created. so that you understand what topic you will be discussing, right? So I have Blake, Corina, Lamia, and Veronica. You will be discussing the attributes between external groups and working groups. External groups and working groups. And in room 2, we have Elena, Kamran, Oji, and Roa. You will be discussing also the same topic, external groups and working groups. And then in room 3, we have Elsa, Nita, Sunil, and Tatiana. You will be discussing attributes between working groups and teams. Working groups and teams. And then in room 4, we have Ahmed, Olivier, and Sudeep and Vineet. You will do the same thing. You will be discussing the attributes between working groups and teams. And then when you come back, I would like to invite you to appoint one of you to share the key highlights, key takeaways from your discussion. And then I will invite you to recognize some very pragmatic measurements that we use as attributes to recognize the differences, because the importance of that is based on different types of associations, the intervention as a team coach, organizational development consultant also vary. All right. I hope you got your topic, and we will spend about, considering that we have limited time and there are smaller groups, let's say 6 minutes, a discussion of 6-7 minutes. All right, I'm opening the groups now.
Le micro ouvert maintenant.
All right, coaches, I see that you dived into a very deep conversation and clarifying, sharing your experiences, which is amazing. So I would say this is also a great opportunity for you to build those little alliances and take this even outside and then connect with each other and continue the conversation that you began. I love being able to connect people, and I hope that some beautiful alliances would be built during this experience. All right, so it's time for us to hear from each group. May I invite our first group where we had Blake, Corina, Lamia, and Veronica together. What are some of the insights you created during your conversation?
Well, I'll share on behalf of the group. We kind of didn't have much time to really discuss as much, but some of the things we came up with similarities and differences. Let me start with the differences between external groups and working groups. I'm trying to read my handwriting here. One person mentioned trust as a working group was very important. And that came behind, communication was an attribute that's needed. So you can share your ideas, and trust should come from out of that as you're a working group. Communication is important for external groups as well, but more on the lines of collaborating in your climate from that perspective. We also came up with under external groups, standards or norms should be established, like a rule of engagement, since you are all coming from external organizations, like a framework. That was a word that one of the coaches used, framework, when it comes to an external group. Culture was important that came up from an external group, and recognizing the different attributes of culture that's in those external groups. We also mentioned, of course, we're all coaches, so active listening is one of the core competencies for either a working group or an external group. And another thing we did mention was the same vision and goals for both working and external groups. And that's what we came up with the time that we had.
Brilliant sharing, Veronica. Really great insights. Thank you, team. Great job. Let's hear from room 2. Elena, Kamran, Aji, and Roa.
All right. I'm just going to unmute myself and represent on behalf of the group. And I'm more than welcome to invite my group, because we could not recap, to be honest, at the end. So we picked up some points. There were some points, and Alina put in the chat. So Alina, if you would like to add, please feel free. So some of the points, I think we mainly focused on the differences. So working group would be probably more of, if we talk about the communication, there's going to be more frequent communication in a working group. Okay, then that kind of links, we can link to the accountability. So you'll have also defined roles and higher accountability in a working group, and they're going to have more specific goals. There will be more cohesiveness, more speed and trust that they need to really build up. And in terms of external group, it's more of autonomy, where they will come from a different, diverse perspective. The roles might not be that clearly defined. So that, again, puts a little bit of challenge, where they'll have more of limited accountability. So there has to be more self-accountability, and communication will be a variable communication. So these are some of the things, and I want my group to actually back me up if I missed out any point, please.
All right. Thank you, Kamran. Great exploration as well. I love the diverse ideas coming from both the groups, which both groups explored the same topic and diverse ideas. Great. Let's hear from room 3, if you're able to speak, Elsa, Nita, and Tatiana.
Okay. Hi. I'll I'll try to summarize because also the amount of time was short. So we were looking at working group versus teams. So working group, we have realized that we can call ourselves a working group tonight, right? So we have gathered for a specific objective in that breaking out rooms. And so we have probably shared common values for being here, for showing up here. The goals are defined, but are not predefined in advance because it's a precise time. We have a common purpose. There's no formal leadership or hierarchy that is predefined neither in a working group. So we decide on it. There's a collective intelligence, of course, of a team spirit during that moment. It's short term. It's it's short term. So it's for a specific time, specific duration, specific goal. Versus a team, they're more on a long term and ongoing basis. There is a clearer hierarchy in the team and a role distribution that is predefined. There is also well-defined goals for each member of the team as well as for the whole team. So a balance is needed from each one to achieve their own goal and then their common goal of the team. The distribution of the roles are clearer. And also there is collective intelligence and input. And that's what we did in 6 minutes.
That's what I was thinking, Elsa. You said it was a limited time, but it took you a few minutes to share this. It's amazing how much you have explored and really very, very precisely exploration. Excellent coaches, music to my ears. It just re-strengthens my belief in us as a coaching community and the power that we have because we are aware. We are able to really go deep and truly look into these associations. So wonderful job. Thank you. Team, anything else to add? No? All right. Okay, then we hear from our other group, which is from Ahmed, Olivier, Sudeep, and Vineet.
I'll take the liberty of sharing on behalf of the group with the permission of the other members. Initially, we felt that there was a little bit of blur in terms of a working group and a team for us, and we debated. From a perspective of a team, I think the clarity was far more and clear understanding, where we saw it as a group coming together with a specific objective or designed to be together for a specific objective or an area where the roles are very clearly defined. And, we did take the analogy of a cricket team. It's a team. The goal is to obviously perform or win a match, but different players are playing different roles. There is a batsman who's batting, there's a wicket keeper who's doing the wicket keeping, or there's a bowler. So there are very defined roles with an end objective being common. And the same analogy from a corporate environment perspective is a functional team where it's the functional objective where there are different roles within the function each player is playing or each person or team member is playing out. From a group perspective, we felt that yes, it is a common outcome which kind of brings that group together, but the role each member play is probably driving towards that outcome, and the specific roles may not be as clear. So the outcome is far more clearer or as a driver in terms of how the group is operating. But that was still a debate which was happening, and we were off from the other room. If anyone else from the group would like to add or correct if I have said something different, please come in and share.
No, Sudeep, I think you summarized it well. And if I also give one other example, is exactly what we're doing now. When you broke us into different groups, you did not break us into different teams. because that's something that is, I mean, specific task. It's not a long term, and this is how we define. That's my understanding how we design groups. So we were groups, we're not teams. So that's a good example for.
Brilliant, brilliant, Ahmed and Sudeep. Thank you for sharing. I also was in this group, so I saw a great conversation. And since this word came up, right, like sometimes there are certain blur lines between associations within organizations. I think that uncertainty you felt, that's something we need to become comfortable with, I would say. And we also need to keep in mind all these, like I'm talking about from a functional and a practical perspective, coaches. These definitions that we are using here for our own benefit in creating the best interventions for our clients. Not in any way we want to push that agenda towards them. So I would say when you practically working with organizations, they are calling themselves a team, and you can clearly see from a mile that they're actually not a team. But you don't have to push that agenda. You don't have to do that, right? Helping them to identify, okay, you are calling yourself a team, great. Well, how do you define this team? Helping them to find their definition of what they call by team is important. But from a technical perspective, having that understanding that, like what we discussed, right? Like working group, like a change management team, where people come from different teams, finance team, the operations team, HR team, and so on. They come together just for a short period of time, work together with each other, come up with some idea. So they work as a team during that short period of time, and then they go back to their actual teams, and then they delegate those tasks and actually work with their teams and then create some outcomes. Once again, they come back and meet and update each other. So they are not necessarily contributing to a shared goal as such. At this point of time, you might think, but wait a second, Fernando. They are contributing to a shared goal, which is transition of the organization, transformation of the organization. It may be upscaling or downsizing, something like that, right? So they are working towards a shared goal, isn't it, Fernando? You might say that, right? But the difference here we need to remember is technically, if people are working of a shared goal organizational wide, it's not a team, it's a rule. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Right? If the specific goal that the shared goal that they are trying to achieve is organizational wide, we do not consider them as a team because it is not a manageable team as such. We are talking about an entire full organization. So that they fall in within this the working group, right? So now we know executive team, XCOM, C-suite, whatever you call in your region, right? We're talking about senior executive group of people who come together. And then we are also understanding another example could be change management. All right, so with that, you actually shared such rich ideas, amazing attributes, amazing reflections, and also starting to recognize that operating with different types of teams can be a little bit confusing, or groups can be a little bit confusing. There are blur lines. And this is a good example or experience for us to recognize it and become a bit comfortable with that, and always provide that bigger vision, look at the bigger picture, and let the team or the group to build their own autonomy. All right, so now let's go into looking at it little bit pragmatically, coaches. I will go through this rapidly because all of you came up with great ideas. So as examples, I will use, let's imagine you are a group coach. You would like to deliver external group coaching, let's say a leadership program. You are amazing at leadership. Actually, you are already, right? Many of you are. So you have decided to come up with this beautiful signature group coaching program, and it is not promoted for a specific organization, or you're not doing it within an organization. You want to promote it to public, like you want to run a like an advertisement in LinkedIn, for an example. You tell your colleagues on LinkedIn, hey guys, I'm a leadership coach and I'm putting together a leadership group coaching program. anyone can join. So let's imagine from organization A, someone is joining, organization B, someone is joining, C joining, they might not even know each other to begin with, right? So it's a different set of people externally, not belong to an organization, come together to co-create, create accountability, learn, and develop together. Now, this is a signature external group coaching engagement. And at the same time, let's imagine apart from you being a team coach or an organizational development consultant, you're also a change management consultant. So you have been called into an organization to, let's say, upscale the organization in specific context. So when you do that, the first thing you will do is you will build your little working group. You will bring someone from finance, from operations, from HR, and so on. So you have now this bunch of people who come from different teams acting as a team. We call it a working group, working together as a group where they might call themselves a team. But I'm going to disengage from the word team, not to confuse you. So from now on, we look at the change management as a working group and the leadership development external group coaching program. Keeping that as an example, let's go through some of the attributes actually you already mentioned. All right. So we know in external group, the leadership needs to be provided separately. That means if they are going through a leadership development journey, if they come up with some certain attributes, like I have to become more assertive. Now, becoming assertive, each leader from each organization or each person will have to provide leadership individually. Whereas in working groups, obviously, as I mentioned, the consultant themselves would be the consultant will be the person who will be providing the specific leadership to that specific group. So the change management consultant, change management partner, and so on. And then in an external group, you understand that the goals are individualistic, right? They have similar goals. Everyone wants to develop leadership, but they are working individually in terms of that development. And then group's purpose is the same as the organizational mission. Now, when we look at, that's exactly what we were talking about a minute ago, if you notice, right? Sorry, I'm struggling a little bit here with some recorded. Okay, so the entire organization needs to go through this upscaling process. So the group's mission is actually contributing to the entire organization's mission. And if we now look at executive team, that's exactly what's happening, right? The strategy, executing the strategy of the organization directly affects the entire organization, and it is definitely not a team then. And then the work produced doesn't impact the group members, right? If you notice, one person will become very assertive as a result of leadership development, and the other person will not. And that wouldn't affect each other in external groups when you deliver signature programs. Whereas individual programs, however, the individual work, like everyone, when they go back to each team, they need to engage, they need to delegate, they need to share the right information, the individual work products. Because if you notice senior executives, each person, so you are the CFO, so you need to go back to finance team and execute whatever that you learn. So the individual work that you created there needs to have an effect when you go back. If you're CHRO, you understood the organizational wider mission, the strategy, and then when you go back to your HR team, you have a specific function there. And external groups create inspiration, learning, accountability as a group. And then if you notice the working group, they run actually effective agenda-based meetings, and they have a very specific function every time they met. Like if you are, for an example, change management consultant, there's a pedagogy behind managing change. So you need to run effective agenda-based meetings in order for us to accomplish change management tasks, for an example. And the external group, success, accomplishments, achievements are individual, right? Based on the individuals. And over here, if you look at the measure of success is the influence of the business, right? When the change management group came together, when they went back, if they did their job really well, everyone has to do it really well so that you can see the organization was able to upscale that specific aspect. So they have to, in certain collective way, work together to create the influence on business, right? And then learning is created in a group, in external group, leadership development, for an example, whereas in working groups, you notice that they need to discuss, decide, and then when they go back, delegate. Isn't that exactly what XCOM does, right? C-suite does. And then in external groups, there's collective reflection, learning and development clearly. And then if you look at the working groups, the members are only part of the team when they meet, right? Yeah. And then if you look at one last aspect, external groups are individually task force. If I want to become more assertive, I have to be task force myself, right? And then if you look at the working group, they may or may not be individual. They may not even be task force to begin with. Like if you notice, C-suite is not task forced. They are really there to make decisions and delegate. They don't necessarily execute organizational functions as such. They don't get involved in HR functions, recruitment or production lines or anything like that. They oversee it. So there's a very clear difference when it comes to external groups and working groups, and having this understanding is important as a team coach. All right, so let's continue a little bit into this. Let's look at external groups and working groups and teams. Working groups. Now, this is what we need to really focus on because we are working in the organizational context, right? So working groups have a strong, clear, focused leadership. We talked about it earlier. And then in teams, however, we have shared leadership. That means in working groups, the change management consultant often has a difficult job, which is running around and making sure that everyone is accomplishing their tasks. Because not to forget, now HR department, the HR person who is in the change management group not only have to upscale the organization, but also to run HR functions, right? So that means a strong accountability needs to be provided. So there needs to be strong leadership. However, in a team, the team member, if you're talking about an actual team, the team members need to be provide self-leadership because they are all experts in a specific area, right? Like for an example, earlier one of you mentioned about the cricket team. The person who is bowling, the person who is batting, that is their own. They need to be providing full leadership to that specific task that they're doing. All right, so the leadership is shared. And then when it comes to a working group, you see that group's purpose is the same as the organizational mission, upscaling the organization, and that has to happen through the entire organization. However, team goal is very specific purpose that supports the organizational wide mission. So it's very clear then we understand C-suite is absolutely not a team at all because they don't have a specific function except for the organizational mission, right? So they are clearly a working group. And then individual work products again, because we all have to take responsibility, but in team, in order for you to achieve something, every team member has to work and contribute their special skills, expertise. Only then we are able to achieve the shared goal. And then if you look at working groups, they run effective agenda-based meetings. However, teams, they do have agenda-based meetings, but they are more spontaneous because since they have to co-create so closely with each other in order for them to achieve a specific goal, they cannot wait for 2 weeks for the meeting to happen so that they can discuss it with their colleague. They have to just like tap on their shoulder and ask, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think we should do? So their meetings are very spontaneous, happening all the time. And then working groups, the measure is the success is measured by the influence on business. And here, the success in teams is measured by team's effectiveness. Each member coming together, because if, like, let's say we are working on getting a rocket out into the space, right? If the hydraulics team didn't function their job, no matter how good the reactor is, we won't be able to get the the rocket out there. So that means the team's effectiveness is measured by everyone working together towards a shared goal in this matter, right? And then they discuss. We know that the working groups discuss, decide, and delegate, and the teams discuss, decide, execute. They actually do the real work. Like they get their hands dirty. They put their feet into the water. And then if you look at the next one, members are only part of the team when they meet in a working group, like the change management team. However, team members are integral. Everyone is important. Everyone needs to contribute to the shared purpose. And then in a working group, we know that they may or may not be task force, like the C-level executives. They don't do any task. They don't get their hands dirty, right? They don't put their feet into the water, frankly speaking. They don't go to the factory and start working there, right? However, when we talk about team, if they are specific, they have to deliver specific product, then they have to go to the, they have to be in the factory, they have to use their hands and get them dirty. All right, so we realize, and another important thing is that they are task force at the same time learning and development focused. So this is like an advanced recognition of a real team. When a team becomes an actual team or a real team, that's when they have this intention of becoming more efficient, so that they also focus on learning and development goals. That means as they go, they learn, because that makes their life easier. Yeah, right. Okay, so I think with that, we have gotten a bit of an understanding right now how these three different elements, looking at from outside to inside of an organization, and also looking at these two specific types of groups and teams that exist within organizations. Okay, so now the next one, I would like to invite you to elevate a little bit and look at group and team associations. And this is where things become really complicated. Since we have limited time, I'm not going to go so much into details, but I want to show you some interesting dynamics here. And what I would do is actually invite you to explore them further, because the technical definitions are often quite subjective to where they come from, the region, the type of book you are reading, the type of methodology you are using, and so on. So when it comes, like, let's say for an example, high performing team, right? If I invited all of you to define high performing teams, you will probably have a different, all of you, we may have different definitions for it. It doesn't mean that we are wrong in any way. It means that we are using different measurements. So it's perfectly all right. Having those measurements are important, and that's what we need to keep in mind. Okay, so here are some interesting groups and teams that that we can look at, and you recognize after external groups, which is outside, the rest of it is within organizations. So there are truly complicated different types of associations within organizations. So we have external groups that's completely outside your signature program, that we don't have to worry about here. So there are working groups within organizations. Then there are teams within organizations. Then there are pseudo teams. Actually, if you notice, working group is type of a pseudo team. C-level executives, they call them teams. So it's actually a type of a pseudo team, for an example. Then they have teams and they have real teams. So a level above, right? Their function, the way they achieve goals are different. And then from a real team, there are effective teams. And then from effective teams, you elevate yourself to high-performing teams, then high-performing leadership teams, and then transformational leadership teams. So it sounds like a lot of jargon, right? My intention is not to create jargon here, coaches, but in inviting you to recognize that the associations within organizations can be quite complex. And why is it important that we identify? If I may invite you to reflect for a minute, why is it important for us to recognize this? I think number one is helping them to elevate their game, right? they have thought that they are effective team, but when we use industry definition, like for an example, if you're using team effectiveness profile, there are so many different types of team effectiveness profiles, right? They're all accurate, they're all right. You can use all of them. And when you use them based on your standard, you help them understand, oh, I thought I'm an effective team, we are an effective team, but it seemed like we are not. So that gives them an opportunity to decide whether they would like to elevate their game, helping them to define what they mean by effective team, and then helping them to elevate their game from where they are to becoming a true effective team. So I think that is one of the advantages of knowing these different definitions. And number two, the way we create actions, accountability, stakeholder management, they all vary depending on the type of the association that they are. For an example, if it is a working group, we can't really invite them to talk about creating accountability directly between them, right? So let's think about just as a professional coach, we don't have to be team coaches to know that we have to create actions and accountability, right? That's part of the process. If you're a team coach, you naturally do that. Now let's see the interesting dynamic here. So if you're working with a change management group, when it comes to actions and accountability, do you notice that actions are individualistic? And accountability needs to be within their teams. So it's almost like we are creating accountability with the person who came from HR team now. When we ask HR person, how do you create accountability? HR person says, oh, when I go back, I have to report this to CHRO. And then CHRO will delegate this to everyone. And then CHRO will be my accountability person. So you're recognizing the accountability person is not in that the change management group there. However, if it is a team, when we ask accountability, they wouldn't necessarily say, I want accountability from a different team. They would find accountability within themselves. They would say, well, since these two people do the same function, I believe that my colleague in my team can help me with this specific function, right? So the teams would create accountability within the team itself. So how you would operate in these two environments would be different. If you had just one definition of teams, and then you approach change management group and executive team, or the change by let's say HR team or finance team, then we are misleading. We are not seeing the bigger picture. And then you will also understand that as we continue this, as teams start to grow, when they get to a level of transformational leadership, their focus is not just making money. Their focus is creating much larger, wider community level changes, much larger, wider human race changes, and so on. So it's really very interesting to see the evolution happening and how the priorities start changing. Like when we talk about an effective team, a real team, they are focusing on making money for the organization most of the time. But when we talk about transformational leadership teams, they are not interested in making money whatsoever. Like for an example, a transformational leadership team can be a space mission, right? Space, usually scientists who are in a space mission demonstrate the level of engagement of a transformational leadership team. They are not getting on a, like NASA, for an example, right? They are not launching rockets into space because they wanted to make money. That's not their purpose. They have a much larger purpose to potentially serve the entire humanity, entire civilization. So if you approach NASA scientists team with the same attitude as making money, that's going to create a conflict. So it's so very important that we as professional coaches understand these different functions of different teams so that we can intervene them in a way that it serves them to the best ability, right? So you're probably recognizing how important it is for you to have a specific industry standard to be able to execute and be in those environments, or at least to come up with your own definitions. We don't have a question about which definition you use, but having specific definitions and understanding what these terms mean, human associations mean, could be valuable. Now, let me help you connect little bit dots to understand types of teams, right? So for an example here, right. So most of the time when we look at different types of teams, how we are able to recognize where they are in their development mostly is based on performance, impact, and team effectiveness. This is the two main criteria that we use most of the time: performance impact and the team effectiveness, and how it plays a role. Now let's look at one by one. How do we identify team effectiveness and performance impact? So when it comes to team effectiveness, specifically at Ignite Global, we look at skills, commitment, and accountability as the team effectiveness profile. Skills, commitment, accountability. Team effectiveness, because you recognize skills are required to be effective. Commitment is absolutely required to be effective. Accountability is absolutely required to become effective. Performance impact is measured by produce, right? It can be profits, can be revenue. Results define performance impact. Growth defines performance impact. I see that Elsa is about to share something.
Oh, sorry, Fernando, to cut you, but this is so interesting. But I have another meeting. I wanted to check if we could have the recording. Are you going to send the recording? I need
Yes.
to go, unfortunately.
No worries, Elsa. Thank you for your interest and being here and joining even for an
Thank
hour.
you so much for
Appreciate
the
if you
session.
share. Thanks for joining.
So much. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
All right. Okay, so at Ignite Global, we have our own model, and these are, of course, like a very basic level sharing with you just to evoke your curiosity, coaches. It goes way beyond, but this is just a brief introduction, let's say, right? All right, so moving forward, how do we look at that? We look at the Ignite Team Development Pyramid. So we look at, because we need to combine these two together. And the moment we combine these two together and there's like a click happens, and then we can identify the interesting team development expansion, if not the curve, team development curve. So what do we mean by putting it into a pyramid and then creating this click, right? So let's look at it like this. So when you have the skills are related to problem solving, technical skills, functional skills, interpersonal skills, and leadership skills, and skills. We can go on, right? There is a range of them that we can look at, over hundreds of them. Accountability. We see two main accountability: mutual accountability, individual accountability. And this can, again, broken down into many different aspects, if you notice. And then we have commitment, clear, meaningful purpose, right? We understand clear, meaningful purpose. And then having specific goals. We cannot commit to something if you don't have a specific goal. If you don't understand where we are going, we cannot commit to anything, right? And it's almost like someone tell you, hey, I'm going somewhere. I'm going on a trip, road trip. And then would you like to join me? And you say, where are you going? And the person say, I don't know. Would you get onto that bus? Would you join? I doubt, right? Because we don't like every experience. So we need to choose. So if you only have a goal, we commit. So clear, specific goals. And in order for us to commit, we need to have a common approach and we need to agree to it. And this is one of the biggest problems in organizations. When we often see there's no commitment in the individuals who operate within a specific context, it's not necessarily because they are not skillful, they are not interested, or they are not experts in their field. It's mostly because the agreement wasn't created properly. They didn't understand why they use a common approach, the purpose, the higher meaning. Now, as a professional coach, you obviously know, like when we set goals, right? The core competency perspective, ICF core competency 3.3, which is the coach partners with the client to find the importance and the meaning of why they are doing what they are doing in that specific coaching session, for that matter. But this is exactly what we are talking about here. As a team coach, it is the expectation of you to elevate from the nitty-gritty the cerebral mind that they are stuck in, and the little problems and petty little things that they are stuck. It's our invitation to invite them to look at the bigger picture. And you know that as a professional coach, this is the natural flow for you. It's a PCC marker. It's a defining marker. If you did not demonstrate that in PCC competency, you wouldn't get your PCC approved for performance evaluation, for that matter, right? So creating commitment is something that we are really good at as professional coaches, that we can. Because we also need to understand, as a team coach, there are several layers of expectations from you, right? Like the undertaking of you. What are the, if I may invite you to take a step back and ruminate a little bit, what are the key expectations or undertakings of a team coach? If you think active listening, powerful inquiry, oh, that's not what I'm not talking about. Key undertaking. What I'm talking about here is, for an example, we discussed at Ignite Global in our team development modalities, and also all our ACTC programs. We approach them in a way that the first layer is the surface level goal achievement, whatever the reason that you were brought in, right? Surface level goal. The second layer is the ICF key undertaking, which is when the team coach disengage, the team is able to continue to team coach. We have embodied the team coaching mindset in them, so that without team coach, they are able to operate in that same efficiency, because team coach has enabled them that mindset, behavior, and attitudes. Now, these are the two that ICF talk about. But however, at Ignite Global, we talk about much higher level, which is learning and development focused. Learning and development focused. That means they operate in a specific way. A small team is operating in a specific way, and they create some valuable learning and development opportunities. And then they don't keep it with them. They tap into other teams. They tap into the entire organization and say, hey guys, we came up with this awesome procedure. It's a communication channel. It's amazing. Would you like to try it out? Learning and development. So now we can disseminate it across the organization, immediately elevate the organization. So that's what we mean by organizational development. And you as team coaches have amazing capacity, ability to elevate the entire organization, because the ICF core competency combined with team coaching competency with models like this enable you to actually actively engage and create those literal value for the organization. Okay, so now moving forward, let's look at how the rest of it showing up here now, right? So you see that over here we have then the results. You recognize when their skills and accountability come together. When the skills and accountability come together, what happens? The results happen. When the skills and commitment come together, the produce happens. And when the accountability and commitment comes together, there's a growth. It's very clear, coaches. Do you see that? It's very straightforward. And for me, it's music to me. It's beautiful to see as well, right? Now what I'm going to do is, I showed you a list of different associations earlier, right? So now what I'm going to do is place them in the performance impact to team effectiveness as a comparison, as a way of kind of creating the team development curve. And this is inspired by Katzenbach and Smith. All right, so the external groups are outside of this equation, right? Because they don't have performance impact unless it's individualistic. There's definitely no team effectiveness because they are not a team to begin with, right? So I just put it outside just to remind you that we were talking about external groups. Now we have working groups. So the working groups have some level of performance impact, but very team effectiveness. Remember, we said that they really come together only for a short period of time, and they run agenda-based meeting time to time, and only then there's some effectiveness while they're discussing. Like the change management group is talking about what they're going to do when they go back to their own groups, right? So there's no team effectiveness as such, really, but there's a performance impact. In fact, it affects the entire organization. So that's a working group. And then if you look at the next one, we have pseudo teams. There can be some performance impact, team effectiveness, but pseudo teams are very agile. We can't even really necessarily pinpoint what it is exactly. It's when we see it in practicality in organizations, then we recognize this is pseudo team. So the performance impact and the team effectiveness vary when it comes, but we need to keep in mind the performance impact is very low. There's some team effectiveness with them. And then the potential team is when there's a good level of, when there's average level of performance impact and some level of team effectiveness. So they are becoming a potential team. And then as they continue, as they grow, as they develop the team effectiveness and performance impact, you are starting to see that they are becoming a real team. They can work together as a real team, directly contributing to the shared goals. And now I think you are starting to see the curve is going to go like a S curve, which is one of the most natural developmental curves that we see, not just only in teams, but also even in the nature. Even if you look at human body, the development curve is usually an extended S. So that means the rules in the nature directly applies within our teams as well. Effective teams, right? Then, however, when they continue, their performance impact usually end up being making money, developing the organization, having more revenue, making more profits. But as you grow into like transformational leadership teams, the performance impacts start to become quite stagnant. They have a specific impact and they're always making it. But the effectiveness of the team continues to grow, continues to grow, continues to grow. Like you can imagine when astronomers, which is a transformational leadership team, when they're out there all by themselves in the space, you can imagine the level of team effectiveness they need to have, because almost they are functions, survival in the space dependent on each other. They play a crucial role as they do that. If you would like to understand another example of a transformational leadership team, how about Federal Bureau of Investigation agents, FBI agents from the US, right? When they go out there into the field, their life depends on each other. It's so important. They're almost faced with combat situations, so they need to safeguard each other. They are not worried about necessarily making money or anything like that. Of course, there's a performance impact. That's how they create safety for public. At the same time, what continues to grow is not necessarily performance impact. They are already really good at their performance because they have been very carefully curated and chosen to be in those teams. So they are really high impactful individuals to begin with. But the more they co-create, the more they continue to grow, the more they become an effective, like a little family. They would jump at a bullet for their colleagues, right? Because they are becoming transformational. They're becoming a transformational. There's a higher purpose. There's a higher meaning to what they do. So you're starting to recognize if you were called in to coach NASA scientists, which I hope you will be, or you are called in to coach a FBI team, if you focus on their performance impact, they're going to get bored. We will have to focus on transformational elements. So what does transformational element mean to a coach, right? So important questions we should ask ourselves. All right. So I think I can go on talking about this all night, but that's not the whole point. I see Corina, so lovely to see you, Corina. Beautiful. All right. Okay. So coaches, what I would do now is inviting you to a little bit of reflection and kind of absorb everything that we have discussed so far and share some of your insights, especially from a key takeaway perspective. Actually, I do have a few more slides, but I don't think we have the time to do that because we are still 14 people in this group. So I would rather love to hear from you, your key takeaway from today, any insight, and then call this a session. And of course, to keep in touch with you and to create this kind of sessions in the future. All right. So who would like to share some key takeaways?
Can I say something, Fernando?
Go for it, Vinay.
Thank you. I really love how you differentiated amongst the different kinds of groups of people or teams. But I have a question too. So now, since all of us have a fair idea what different kinds of groups are and teams are, and when it comes to the team coaching, is there any further session you're going to conduct? That what are the strategies we should do when we are as a coach and doing a team coaching?
Well, I could consider this as a request and run some complimentary sessions once in a while. We need, if all of you may allow me permission, coaches, we also deliver a team coaching training at level 2 team coach training towards the ACTC ICF credential as well. So if any of you are looking for a specific like team coach specific training, our training is group and team coaching mastery certification towards ACTC, but it's a dual certification. It's also the organizational development specialist using a coaching approach certification. So we deliver both of this and we prepare you towards the ACTC credential. If so someone wants to go deeper into this professionally, feel free to set up a meeting with me. We can explore whether Ignite could be your development partner, professional development partner. But if you want to gain some understanding about groups and teams, I am more than happy to conduct some sessions once in a while, like what we are doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Vineet, what is your key takeaway?
Like there was, as you mentioned earlier, that there was a very fine line amongst these different kinds of groups and teams. But with your explanation, I have now a very fair idea that what are the various functions and goals of these different kinds of groups. So that's my major.
So clarity
takeaway.
being created.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. So coaches, since if I just passively wait here, it might take a little bit of time to get you out of your shell. So let me call your names. If you're comfortable, feel free to share a little bit of an insight. Ahmed, I see you right on top of the screen. So may I invite you to share some insights? Please unmute yourself. What is your key takeaway?
Actually, it's as much as it could look simple, but it is really complex, and there's a thin line between the definition here. So, but I mean, looking into it as a longer task, shorter task, individual base or a group base, I mean, there are too many learning curves that I went through here, and it's really interesting. Now, I think I would love that if we can have more further sessions and to understand more, because the time is never enough. But I mean, this subject is for me more complex than yesterday's session, although both of them are good learning curve. So I think we do need an extended session, if that's okay.
Let's consider that, Ahmed. Thank you. Next, I see Tatiana on the screen.
Well, Fernando and everybody, thank you so much for very informative, very interesting session and discussion. I've learned a ton, actually more than I expected. And what you asked me, we asked us about the key takeaways. I believe, really, definitely, as others mentioned, the definitions, the distinguishing aspects of each group that we identified. That was really interesting to look into that into details and, expectations, accountabilities, and communication, etc. as well as very interesting. I found this graph, that S shape that you showed between performance and effectiveness, that, you know, that balance, fine balance. And it was fascinating to learn about transformational teams that you mentioned that are really, you know, on the far end of the spectrum. That was absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for really informative workshop. I'm really happy that I attended. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us and sharing your valuable insights, Tatiana. Look forward to welcoming you into the future sessions as well. Thank you. Corina, over to you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to learn from you. And what I found quite interesting at the end, because I was unable to join from the beginning while I was driving a lot. I found this graph at the end fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina. So lovely to see you after a while. Let's catch up sometime soon. I miss you. All right. All right. Hi, Nita. Would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you, Fernando, for this very, very, very valuable session. I've learned a lot. It's an eye-opener for me. I've been through my team coaching training, etc. But the way you spoke about those distinctions between groups and teams, the attributes, etc., and how our coaching interventions, how that could inform our coaching interventions is really an eye-opener for me. So amazing. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. And we would love a follow-up session.
All right. Now I'm hearing it loud and clear, so I will come up. Yes, I love co-creating with coaches. So yes, let's do that. Vinit shared already. So Kamran, do you have to run, Kamran? Okay. All right. So OG. I think. Okay, you shared in the chat room. I see that. Elena, would you like to? Elena, Olivier, if you would like to share something, please come forward. All right, coaches. In that case, Tatiana?
Excuse me, just one final question. What books would you recommend, Fernando? What would be kind of to start exploring this area?
Patrick Lencioni. Patrick Lencioni's books are quite interesting, I would say. And you know what? I will recommend some books via one of the emails. I'll send some resources along with the link. And let me also see what I have within Ignite, maybe do also some reading material for all of you. Yeah. All right. The reason why, Tatiana, I struggle with that question, because these are all like, I just kind of create by myself based on everything that I have seen, heard. Yeah, not necessarily just a book, because sometimes books cannot, I'm also being very careful, like not to recommend something that just goes so much into theory, but has no practical component to it. But I'll try to come up with something that makes sense. Yeah. All right, coaches. So I celebrate all of you as we celebrate International Coaching Week. And I know that you're doing amazing work out there. And the work that you do is extremely important. And I also believe that it's such a privilege for us to be professional coaches and create development in our clients, in communities and world at large. So that is why I love it's actually 12:30 midnight in Bangkok, but I love doing this because I know that whatever I share with you, you create ripples or domino effects. So please go ahead and do that. And I look forward to continue this conversation with all of you and wish you all the very best. Bye-bye for now, coaches. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.